Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. And now the Friday Crime Report. Moraga, California, Fall Semester 2024 and Spring Semester 2025.
Oakland residents Tia Honeycutt and James Brickley said they felt good about sending their son to St. Mary's College of California in Moraga last fall. But by spring semester, they noticed something was off.
He wanted to come home more often. He would say, pick me up on Thursday.
Soon, their son David, a freshman, would text them in fear from his dorm room. He told them a handful of students were shouting curse words, including the N-word outside of his room. He believes he was targeted because he's black. He recorded part of it on video and shared it with ABC 7 News.
Let's imagine for a moment, or any parent, that it's your child, and they're behind this door, hearing, kill the N-word, kill the N-word. You can, for a moment, imagine, how he felt, his fear.
David, who does not want to be shown on camera out of fear of retaliation, said he reported the incident to his resident assistant and campus advisors.
So it was kind of very disheartening, and I was promised that things were going to change or things that were going to happen, and just nothing happened.
Weeks later, David told me that's when things escalated. He took this image of the door to the communal bathroom in his dorm. Someone carved "kill N-words" in the door. We have blurred that racial slur. Days later, another incident on campus prompting the university to send out this alert obtained by ABC 7 News, warning of a hate crime involving property damage, threatening language, and racial slurs written into restrooms. Moraga PD confirms it is investigating these incidents as hate crimes. They tell me in that meeting, University President Roger Thompson expressed concern, but not the solutions they wanted to hear.
He said to us that we should think about moving David out of the school. That was his solution to having a
not out of the dorm, out of the school.
Out of the school.
Move to a different school.
Right.
That's what he said.
So that was his response to a toxic culture, was to have David leave and let the toxic culture persist.
Why does it take us getting in touch with you, Julian? Why did we have to go to ABC News and report these hate crimes on that campus and heard nothing?
In a follow-up statement, a university spokesperson said the president expressed understanding should the parents wish for their student to transfer to a new school.
Why aren't the perpetrators in these crimes, the ones that are kicked out of school?
For the better part of 30 years, whenever we've been hearing about school discrimination, we've had trash like Ed Blum whining about non-existent reverse discrimination against white students. Meanwhile, black students who are and have always been the targets of racial discrimination in schools, well, the Ed Blums of the world are not concerned about that at all. That's because their entire agenda is to protect and promote anti-black racism. But of course, you have people who ordinarily would otherwise claim that they're opposed to the Ed Blums of the world who are actually helping them to do it. In this case, you got the university president of St. Mary's who posted the usual insincere empty talk about, say it with me, racism has no place here, won't be tolerated, we're all about inclusion, etc. And of course, he claimed that they took immediate action to this racist harassment that was going on. But of course, the family's entire problem is that this guy took no action at all. The student himself had told the campus staff and administration about it, and nothing was done. That's the entire reason that they went to the media. The university president also made it clear that his non-statement statement was only done because of all the bad publicity that they were getting on television. Were it not for the family putting the university's tacit approval of these hate crimes on statewide and now national television, the university would still be saying nothing about it. The university president claimed that the TV news story about his inaction didn't tell all the facts, but of course, when he tried to give his own version of it, it simply confirmed what the story said. He tried to put a spin on it, but it didn't work. The university president admitted that he had tried to get the victim to leave the university and go to another school. Quote, I listened attentively and presented options such as moving the student to a different residence hall. I expressed understanding should the parents wish for their student to transfer. That's what he was saying. He's trying to gussy it up like, oh, well, we were just going over options at all. But the only options that the university president was offering was for the victim to leave the school. Well, you need to go ahead and just voluntarily leave. The ones who needed to leave were the racists who were threatening and harassing this kid. But of course, this creep president of the university was trying to low-key whitewash what he said and make it sound like he was being sympathetic, but in reality, he made it very clear that these racist punks were doing his dirty work and he was on their side. We see this time and time and time again. It doesn't matter where these racist attacks on black children occur. The response is always the same because these are the official policies of these places. As blatantly reprehensible as the university president's behavior has been, the family of the victim is playing into the school's hands by validating the university's inaction as being what they, the family, want. All they're demanding from the university is a zero-tolerance policy for racism. Problem is, the school already allegedly had that in place. In fact, that was what the university president put into his non-apology apology that he posted online. These acts violated St. Mary's College of California's harassment and discrimination policy. So, as the university president put it, they already have a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination and harassment in place, and we see how well that went. The family also reportedly wants to mandate anti-bias training for students and provide better support for victims. Gee, now where have we heard this before? We'll continue with the moment of truth in just a moment, but first, a word from the official sponsor of Black Empowerment, Power Tools. There's no telling when something's going to come up, so make sure you carry your power tools at all times. You never know when you're going to need to bring the hammer down, or when you'll have some trash that needs to be blown away, or some obstacle that requires cutting down. Don't get caught empty-handed. Keep your hammer close by. Keep that leaf blower at the ready, and always carry your steel. Power tools, because no matter what your day job or side hustle may be, there's no excuse for not being ready to put in some work. Now, this is the same pathetic dance we always see whenever some act of blatant anti-black racism takes place, whether it's job discrimination or police murdering an unarmed black person in cold blood. We always see the same do-nothing litany of establish a zero-tolerance policy, we need sensitivity training, and let the victims know that we care. The only policy that's required is a policy of strict punishment, immediate mandatory expulsion for these racists, full stop. Because if these kinds of threats and intimidation were being perpetrated against any other group or any other kind of person other than a black person, the expulsions would have already happened. Right now, we're seeing pure hysteria merely about criticizing Israel. We're hearing that being called anti-Semitic, and anyone who does so has to be expelled. In fact, if they're not native-born Americans, they need to be deported. They're not doing this in response to any alleged anti-Jewish slurs or threats, because that's not what's happening. Instead, they're doing it merely if you criticize a geopolitical entity. That's anti-Semitic, and that's grounds for you to be expelled. See, there's nothing racial going on there, it's merely political. The federal government began shutting down school groups and campus organizations, and university presidents were being fired during the Biden administration. That's when that was going on. And you didn't hear the Democrats say boo about it. None of them said we got to get these university presidents reinstated, or we're going to stop all of these witch hunts. Or if we have anybody who's threatening schools over legitimate free speech, we're going to find a way to sanction them. And now that the orange man is back in the White House, we see that the Biden administration's policies have been continued and are now being intensified. We see a continuity of policy. When it comes to everybody, black people get absolutely no protections, but everybody else they go to the mat for. And now criticizing Israel means that the Trump administration will do what the Biden administration hinted at. Federal funds being withheld, that's weaponizing the Treasury for a foreign government. Making phony claims that white people are being discriminated against but never actually able to prove it is being dignified, which is what the Biden administration was giving tacit approval to. Meanwhile, as usual, black students who are actually being threatened, harassed, persecuted, not phony pretend mistreatment, but the real thing, the schools do what they always do. Nothing. And you don't see anyone dragging this university president before the Senate or in front of the cameras to demand that he answer for how he created and allowed and protected an environment of violent anti-black racism on his campus. And yes, the reprobates in the GOP are in charge of the U.S. Senate, but these hate crimes happen in the state of California, where Democrats run the entire place. So why hasn't this university president been dragged before the California legislature? Democrats should be demanding that he be fired, that he be punished, make an example out of him. But unfortunately the victim's the wrong color for that. In the same way that this university president is protecting anti-black racism, so do all of these Democratic politicians. If criticizing Israel results in police storming protest groups on campus, students being expelled, and those deported if they're foreigners, then making violent threats against black students should carry far more serious consequences and punishments. And keep in mind, all of this is happening in the so-called liberal state of California, and it happened in the East Bay area. That means that they're just east of Oakland, which is Kamala Harris's old stomping grounds, and where she began her career as a professional prosecutor. And this university is only 25 miles from San Francisco, which is where both Gavin Newsom and Nancy Pelosi hang their hats. So this place is within spitting distance of them. But what are they doing and saying? See, for all of the DNC shills and plants and suck-ups who infest the comment sections around here, I want to know, what is it the Democrats are going to do to push back against all of this racism that's going on? It makes absolutely no sense for somebody to sit there and say, oh, look at this, Trump is trying to enshrine discrimination into the laws. They've been doing this for decades. It's not new. And Democrats have given no response to it. Ed Blum isn't doing anything that he hasn't been doing since the 90s, but the only difference is there's a bunch of Federalist Society flunkies who now comprise the majority on the Supreme Court. Democrats saw all of these pieces being put in place by the white right, and they did nothing about it. And as we see in states like California, where the Democrats are in charge, they're actually protecting these racists. All of this is happening in what the white media would tell us is the most liberal city in America, in the most liberal state in America. And you see it's as racist as anything in Mississippi or Louisiana or Ron DeSantis' Florida or Greg Abbott's Texas. The deliberate, intentional targeting of black children in these schools is the reason that there needs to be a specific dedicated hate crime law just to protect black people and to enable real consequences for the perpetrators of these crimes and those who protect and enable them. Nothing happens in a vacuum under white supremacy. You know that the school administration was in on this. They probably know the perpetrators and their parents. America's schools are not for learning. They're for indoctrination. So whether it's teaching that slavery was a benefit in Florida or protecting hate criminals in California, the curriculum is always the same. Reading, writing, and racism. And that's this week's Friday Crime Report. Keep your eyes open and stay on alert, because there's a lot worse criminals out there than the ones the white corporate media chooses to show you. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Sharice Matthews, Stay Positive, Jimmy Whitfield, Wali Bilal, and Joy Henderson. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.